This little circuit board is out of a Chinese self-start module, and that's what it looked like originally. I already took it apart. There's the metal tab, and it was all potted in resin with a plastic case around it. Quite difficult to get into, but we're in, and we've reverse engineered it. But first, before I show you the circuitry of this, let me demonstrate this. So making sure the power of my non-compliant Chinese danger box is actually off, I shall stuff this wire in here. And stuff this wire in here. I've hooked it up to a light bulb, a 60-watt light bulb, and when I turn it on, you'll see that it slowly ramps up to full intensity. The point of this is that if you use this with universal motor power tools, instead of them drawing huge amounts of current as soon as you turn them on and kicking the gearbox really hard, they will gently ramp up instead. Let me demonstrate that again. And if you turn it off and on very quickly, it instantly detects it's been turned off and it does the full soft start ramp up again. It's quite effective. Okay, I shall now disconnect it and show you the circuitry. And I do have a schematic for you. I've got two schematics because it's needing two schematics, but the way it's designed is really hard to get your head round unless it's drawn in a more conventional format. It's a very, very clever bit of circuitry. Oh, incidentally, it says this one is rated 20 amps. Now, the triac is rated 20 amps, but it is mounted onto that little metal tab that I've already lost. And there it is. So it's riveted onto this metal tab, and then you're supposed to put that metal tab onto a heat-sinked surface. I'm not sure, given that at 20 amps, a triac will be dissipating roughly 20 to 40 watts-ish body temperature. So that's pretty high. So I wouldn't use it anywhere near the rated current of 20 watts. Let me put that out of the way and bring in the first exhibit. And here is the first exhibit. I didn't think I was going to get this out intact. Thankfully, the black resin they had on it, when it was heated up enough, I managed to peel it off, and then it just left some little residue in between, so it was fairly easy to clean out. I've left it in between the chip pins. I was expecting this to be quite weird circuitry, particularly the fact it has to power this little microcontroller from being in series with the load, because that thing, see how it's got the two wires? You actually, well, I'll draw it on. Here is, say, for instance, live, and there's the load. There's your motor. There's another thing. It really should maybe have a snubber network, but then the motor goes to there, and then that goes to neutral. So this basically just goes in line. So you can put it in line with anything. That's what I did with the light bulb there. It's pretty good at saving light bulbs from failing prematurely, traditional tungsten ones, by reducing the inrush current. But the circuitry here is weird. I thought this was two transistors. This is actually a dual diode package. This is a PNP transistor, and what we've got here is a couple of resistors. Now, these are 1.2K resistors, and if they were to be part of the power supply that's based on this Zener diode here and active all the time, smoke would come off them. I've actually done that. During the testing, I was measuring the voltage, and I had a couple of leads connected, one to positive, one to negative, and I accidentally bridged the leads out, and smoke came off these. You could see the solder melting at the ends with the heat. Thankfully, I saw that in time and stopped. I also probed with an oscilloscope to see what was going on here. But the gist is that this transistor here is used to charge up I'll show you in the schematic, that's the best bet. So I've modified the schematic so you can actually understand what's happening, and then I'll show you the real schematic, which shows you that everything is referenced to the positive rail, which makes it very hard to follow. So let me show you the first schematic. And here it is. So keep in mind this is not the real schematic yet, but I've referenced everything to the 0-volt rail because it makes it so much easier to explain how it operates to you, because otherwise, because everything else is normally operated, well, I'll show you the other one afterwards, and it just makes it so much more complicated, as you'll see. This transistor, it's called 4D. It's actually a PNP transistor, but that's because it is part of the other circuitry where it is a PNP transistor. The triac is a very classic BTA20 800B. That means 20 amp, 800 volt, and the B is the type of triac, and that is an isolated tab triac, just as well really, otherwise that tab would be live. And it's driven by 3 ganged pins from this microcontroller through a 100 ohm resistor to provide enough current. Now note the way I've drawn it here. It's driving it with positive to actually turn that on. In reality, as you'll see in the other schematic, it's actually driving it negative to turn it on, because the turn on voltage to a triac is made in reference to this terminal here, MT1. And you can have 2 polarities of that. It could be positive or negative, and the gate can also trigger it with positive or negative with respect to that. It's got the 4 quadrants. But the 2 most sensitive quadrants are where they're both negative with respect to the polarity of this. So that's effectively what they're doing in the real circuit. Next in this circuit is a phase angle zero crossing point detection. I'll just write that, 0x, zero crossing point. And what this does, it's a resistor, and it's a capacitor, very low value capacitor, just to reduce the risk of noise affecting this, and also to cause potentially a slight phase shift. And what that's doing is that as the sine wave rides up and down, like that, each time it crosses the zero crossing point, where it changes polarity, that input will change polarity to reflect that. And the processor uses that for 3 different things. It uses it as part of the power supply control. It uses it for the timing, where in that sine wave, say for instance, it detects this crossing point here, and it's halfway through its ramping cycle, it will time across the middle of that, and then it will pulse the triac to turn it on, so that it's on for half the sine wave. And the other thing it's used for, it's got so many uses here, is that if you turn the power off and then on again very quickly, it detects the loss of that zero crossing point. It automatically resets the thing. It's very, very clever. Now the power supply, and this is where it's a bit of a brain melter. So on the part of the waveform where this side is positive and this side is negative, current flows through this diode, and it goes through that resistor, and it turns this transistor on, and that transistor then allows current to flow through these 2 relatively low value resistors to charge up this capacitor, and the voltage is capped by this 5.1 volt Zener diode. But if you just left that on continually, the smoke would come off these resistors very quickly, because they'd be grossly overloaded. So it only charges at the zero crossing point, just above the zero crossing point, on one of the half waves. I've shown it in all the half waves there, but it just actually does it in one of the half waves. And these diodes here are because to turn this transistor on, this is connected to the positive rail. So this is about 5 volts here. And to turn that transistor on, you'll need at least the base to emitter voltage of approximately 0.6 volts. So let's say crudely 5.6 volts. But this thing, when it's in its high state, will be putting out 5 volts, and therefore it won't actually be able to bypass that. I'm just trying to think. Yes, it means that if it was at 5 volts, the current would flow through this resistor, and preferentially it might just go in through the little diode pin to the 5 volt rail and ignore that transistor. But in this case, the microcontroller can actually set it high to turn this transistor on, and it can set it low when it passes the zero crossing point after a time delay to actually turn the transistor off so it doesn't smoke those resistors. I have an oscilloscope waveform trace to show you. Actually, a photo of an oscilloscope waveform trace. I was using a low voltage battery operated scope, very simple one, just because the whole circuit was referenced to the mains. And this, note how it's high and then it goes off. Whereas in the circuit I've just shown you, it would be the opposite. Well, that's because this is the real circuit where it's actually a PNP transistor it's driving. So that's the point it's on, and the rest of the time it's off. So for the full sine wave, it is on for 2 milliseconds. And the rest of the time it's off, so that's less than 10% of the time it's actually on to keep the dissipation of those resistors down. Okay, back to the schematic. Schematic. Well, tell you what, I'm going to show you the other schematic now. What can I really say about this? I'll just zoom in a little bit. Just before we head over to the nightmare of a schematic that is hard to follow, but much easier now you've seen this. So that's fundamentally it. When you power it up, it sees the zero crossing point, it gets its power, and it will then start firing this triac at the far end of each half cycle so that it's only on for a very tiny little bit of time, and it will gradually change the timing, and it will gradually work its way back across that sine wave until the thing is actually up to full intensity. It's basically like someone turning a dimmer on low and turning it up slowly to the top. Note that there is no interference suppression, so for the time it's ramping up there will be noise. Also note that it can't turn the triac on like at the dead on the zero crossing point, because otherwise there'd be no way to power itself. It actually introduces a slight delay after the zero crossing point so it can take its power and then it goes and turns the triac on. Okay, are you ready for the nightmarish real schematic? And here it is. So as you can see, everything's referenced up to the top now. The positive is the 0 volt effectively, and the negative is effectively minus 5 volts from that. And this is purely 100% so that this triac has its MT1 terminal connected to the positive 5 volt supply, and the gate is pulled negative via these cluster of pins here that to increase the current. The only other difference really, this is the real transistor, it's a 4D. And as you can see, literally it's just the circuit flipped upside down to operating in reverse, except instead of charging the transistor, charging it positive, it's actually pulling it down and charging it negative with respect to the 5 volt rail. The only other thing that's really different here is that to get the zero crossing point, the resistor here, the high value resistor, has its little capacitor connected over to the 0 volts this time. It's not just connected to the rail. Otherwise, it's pretty much just flipped over and the diodes are all swapped around the opposite direction. I've called that C3 and put a little dotted line around it because they are 2 diodes in one package. It's a 3-pin package and there is an extra pin here, but they've just ignored that. They've not used it. They're just used it as 2 diodes in series for the same reason, just so they can make sure that they can turn that transistor off completely when they need to and let it turn on itself via this resistor. It's an interesting circuit, a very interesting circuit. I'm maybe going to see if I can find some others. I bet they all use the same circuitry. I'm just looking for that circuitry now. I've misplaced it. And now it is no longer misplaced and connected to the unit again, so you can see. So imagine you've got a chop saw, some powerful tool that when it starts up it makes the lights differ, it trips the breaker. This is the thing that's going to potentially provide a softer start. There is one thing though. I would recommend kind of putting a snubber network across this just to protect the triac, and also to make it more stable, because in case some magnetic loads cause false stringing of the triac, although this is a fairly modern triac and it's less prone to that. And people have mentioned, I showed this in an unbagging this little module, and people have mentioned that they've been using it for ages on their tools in their workshop, and it does the job. So there we have it. A soft start. It could be used for many things, just where you've got massive inrush current, but just make sure that whatever loads you drive it with, they have to be suitable for being given a soft start. That does not include switch mode power supplies, which the pulsing of the phase angle control may actually cause trouble with some of the components in them, and also definitely not certain motors that are just not really suited to this phase angle control. But there we have it. Very interesting and sophisticated little circuit with some very clever software.